So the first thing we should do is just open up Premiere, and we're not going to change the size or anything. I don't want y'all to like think about that right now. When you open up Premiere, you're just going to just think of it as Photoshop a little bit. So like we're going to open up a new project. Um, we could. There's a bunch of presets. Don't worry about any of this stuff right now. We might not even get to this at all. We're just going to do very basic stuff. We're just going to create. And if it says project exists, we're just going to replace that. So you should have something along the lines of this. Think about this as like the timeline you had in Photoshop when we were making the pixel art characters. So you should have a timeline. You should have various different options down here, and we can kind of click and drag everything around. So the first thing I would want y'all to do whenever we get the chance is just to like click and drag our stuff into the media section. So let's like get some footage in here. There we go. Let's click one that actually has something we can pixelate in certain ways. I want to get this footage. And since our little footage is up here, we can click and drag this into the timeline. And it should click up here. So like bottom in our project section, it should be in this corner. Just click and drag everything in here if you're using various different like footage. And then you click and drag into the timeline. That's how I do it. So we can see here, we have the timeline. We can skip through. And this is our footage. We can make this bigger just with like the middle roller on our mouse pad if we have a middle scroll. And the first thing I want to do, I just want to delete the audio because I'm not going to use this audio at the end. And it's just as easy. You just click on the audio. It should be in a separate file, but these two are connected. And most likely all of your video, you probably didn't think about the audio at all. So there could be like sounds in the background. You can keep them in if you want. I like to delete it. I guess with this footage right here, I have a water bottle in my bag and all you hear is like the swoosh sound and it's just really bizarre. It's not even picking up. So, which is okay. But the audio is picking up in the recording. So I want to right click this. And I just want to cut the audio. So the audio is gone. And all we have is this footage. But the first thing I want to do is make this black and white. There's an effects setting right here, and we can do like a bunch of different things. Usually, if you know how to find it in Photoshop, we can find it in here. But if you just put in black and white is in the image control section, and I just put IM and it automatically comes up. This could be confusing at first. But you have to make sure you click the effects, not the effects control. And we'll get to that in a second. And all I want to do is just click on, I have to make sure I'm clicking on my footage first. Make sure you click on your footage and then click the effect that you want. And it's black and white. Pretty simple. It's just like Photoshop. But the other thing we need to do is pixelate this footage. Does anyone remember how did we find, or how did we do pixelation? in Photoshop. Does anyone remember those steps? Yes. It's okay. Okay. So we can just go find mosaic. So we don't, it's like a little bit easier. There's not like, it's if you go into the effects and just like type in a thing, it should pop up. There's not like image and then filters or like, it's just that simple. And let's see, let's just click that. And now the image is automatically pixelated. And we can now go into the effects control. There's a lot of stuff right here, and a lot of the stuff you don't have to worry about right now. Let's go back a step. All right. So how do we do this? We're in the effects section. We want to find mosaic. Make sure our footage is selected. Mosaic. Now it's all pixelated. Oops. There we go. We go to effects control, and it should be at the bottom. There's various different things you could do. We can change the pixels. It's the 40. So you have some control over it. I believe more so in Photoshop. Let's go. Can we go into the negative? Yes, we can go into the negative as well, which is something I believe, can't do in Photoshop, or something I just don't do. So there's different ways to pixelate your footage. We don't need to know that right now. I feel like this is a good, maybe you can mess around with that. But the main thing I want to do when we play the footage, yes, it's pixelated, but we want to see a little bit more stuff. And the main thing I want to do is kind of like think about if you watch like, I don't know, any reality TV or like anything in the last like what? I don't know. Pixelating footage, like if you're watching, I don't know, why am I thinking about Cops? If you watch Cops and someone didn't sign the waiver and they don't want to be on TV, they usually pixelate the face. That's kind of what we're going for. And it's really simple. So the footage I had walking down the street and I saw like a blow up pumpkin. And what I want to do is when I'm walking down the street or in the footage, I just want to pixelate the pumpkin. And when it hits the frame, I just want to pixelate from one end to the other. So how do we do that? We have a few different icons here, and they might look familiar a little bit since we know some Photoshop. We're going to go for the circle, the ellipse right now. It's the ellipse mask. We have a polygon mask, and then we have the free draw mask. So we have some options. So let's just click the ellipse mask. Something happened. What happened? We have a pixelated void onto our footage. And let's click right here. So right now, if we play the footage, it's just, it's on the same frame in the same spot, but I want my footage to kind of follow when let's move this a little bit. Why is there two? Okay, like I clicked it 2 times. If you click the effect 2 times, it's going to put that many in the effects controls. I only want 1. So you can see here we have mosaic and we have mosaic 2. Let's delete the second one. Boom. Now we got that. You can click on the effect we click on the mask and we can move this around. So we can move this around the frame. How about let's just pixelate this kind of sad decoration at the moment, because it is throughout the maybe each frame. Or we can start right here. We can cut our footage. There's a bunch of different like things we have. You want to click the razor tool. So if I click that, I go into my timeline, I cut the footage, and I can just delete that. Go back to my selection tool. So it's pretty much very much like Photoshop. But I want to move this and change the size to just this area. And this is the easy part. We're going to click this stopwatch. And this action will delete existing keyframes. Do you want to continue? Yes. Did I do it? No. Let's go back. So my keyframe is right here. I put it onto the object. Let's play this real fast. I might have done this a little bit wrong. Let's see. All right. I did it right. There we go. It's working now. So let's go back, because I messed up a step. Okay. Let's redo that one more time. We're going to change size. We're going to put it into the frame. And then see this right here. That's right here. Track selected mask backwards. Track selected mask forwards. Okay, I clicked that before, and for some reason it didn't work. So you got to click, you can do it backwards or forwards. And it should clip through the whole frame. We can play the footage. Now it's given a different connotation, kind of gruesome at this point. I did not mean that. Let's play that one more time. So that's pretty simple. Just a few clicks of the button and we have a pixelated mask onto some footage, but we have some more options. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So we have a different options. We have a mask feather, so we can like feather the edges. We have the opacity of the pixelation. And then we have mask expansion, and we have like invert. So we can, when we click invert, it will pixelate everything but your selection. So if you really wanted to, you can have your face not pixelated and the background pixelated. So let's show this. I like it better the other way. So let's click invert again, and let's mess with the mask feather. Let's go 50. I think that looks a little bit better. The main thing for all of y'all, I just want you to use simple methods for right now in Premiere. I want you to make it black and white, and I want you to pixelate your movement of your face. Since this project we're pixelating a portrait, let's try to do that in footage. And then we're going to export it. So there's various different ways you can export in Premiere. We're going to attempt to just export it in Premiere and not use a different program. Sometimes, if most likely with these computers, since they're a little bit older, it might freeze on you. And then we'll go, if that happens, we'll use a different program. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Export, and we're going to click Media. And we have various different locations. We can change it. I want it on my hard drive. But we have various different formats. For y'all, for right now, we could just leave this the way it is. Or we can do MPEG 4. Let's see. For y'all, let's just do a MP4, which is it should be the standard format when you export, maybe, but the format is the H.264, which will be an MP4. Let's just like use that for right now. If you don't see that, go down to the format and you can click on it. Let's just do that simple thing when we export our footage, just to make things a little bit simple. We can export it as a GIF. We don't want that right now. You can leave the sound on or off. And let's just export and see how there's two different, we can export it in Premiere, but Media Encoder, we have various different options. Usually if my computer freezes, or if I'm using a very old computer and it keeps on freezing in Premiere, that's when I'll open up Media Encoder. But let's see that right now. Let's just click on this. All right, let's play this footage. Let's like name it something that I can actually find. There we go. Well, looks like we stumbled on into a murder scene. Whenever you get to the footage, I'll come around if you need some help. I will go over this as many times as you need, and I'll also have this footage on a not Blackboard, on Canvas in a second. So let's stop recording. So once you download that file onto your desktop or your personal laptop, if you want to work from home, there is in your effects section, there's a presets folder, and you want to right click that preset folder. And then you're going to import a preset. I have it in my download section, but this is the file we want. It's called obsolete effects. And we're going to click on that file, and then we're just going to open it. Adobe just got rid of a bunch of effects. Some of them I would like for us to use if we're able to, if the computers will let us. And then in this section, I want to look up threshold, because we've done that in Photoshop, and it's pretty like a basic effect that we all know how to do. And I just put a TH in the effects, and it has a threshold option. the one thing we need to do, we can't just click on it when we have our footage. It just won't work. We actually have to click and drag the effect onto our footage. So we click and drag, and our footage is now in the threshold. It looks very much like we did in Photoshop, but we're doing the same thing just with live footage. I want all of y'all, if you can do it, I don't know if anyone has done it yet on these computers. If you can, let's do that too. Let's do that as well with our footage. So one file, black and white, one file with a threshold on there. But when we get to the effects control, we can actually do the same thing we did with the pixelation and have a mask path as well. And we can kind of feather it, change the opacity and the size as well, which it already did on my footage. Has anyone tried that yet? That's okay. We have time. Can everyone look at this screen right now? I want to show you just another thing in Premiere. And I don't know if any of y'all did this yet, but if we can get the threshold onto our image, we can manipulate this even further, which is great. Again, it's like really simple. So like for me, I think Premiere is like relatively like easier to navigate than Photoshop. Weirdly, even though I feel like there's a lot more we can do in Premiere. But once we have our like threshold image, and I guess technically we could do this with like really any. It doesn't have to be threshold, but just for the sake of a project I'll give you in the future, we're gonna want the like threshold this whole image. So I have like a pixelation. We have all of this going on. It's threshold. We did this before in Photoshop. We're gonna go back into the effects panel, and we're just gonna look up tint, kind of like how we changed that with our like which project was that the or character or photo bastion characters, how we change the colors. We can do that with footage as well. Again, if we click, I think with this one, since it's not obsolete, if I click the footage and then click on a tint, something should happen, but nothing's going to happen yet because we haven't done anything. So let's go to the control panels, and the tint is already there. You can put multiple effects on at once. We only need one, so let's click on this extra tint and just like delete it. And so we have the tint that we need. We can do the same thing as before, all these effects. We can change the color of just an area, or like say if we wanted just a pixelated area to be more morphed, we can change the colors. But I want to focus on the full image, the full footage. And we have two squares right down here. We have a black square and a white square, and we can change the colors. And it's just as simple in Photoshop. We can just change everything. Eventually, we're going to do some like complementary color portraits and then manipulate those further. And I want y'all to kind of like think about that idea with live footage. So I'm just going to go red, and then let's see how like disgusting this look. So do some Christmas colors, get into the season, I guess. So it's just that easy with this footage. Let's play it back. If it actually plays. But we can probably manipulate this like even further. So let's go back, Control Z again. Maybe let's try to do that same thing we did before of the masking area. So I actually want to change just this portion that we mosaic pixeled. Let's see here. Let's do that. Let's put the circle back in. Got that. Let's change. There we go. Press OK. And then the same thing as before, we want to click the track selected mask forward. We can do it backwards, forward, but we have to click this for order it to work. So let's click that again. You're going to have like a progression. Um, there we go. And same thing as before. Let's see what this looks like. We can, there we go. I thought it didn't work at first. So I'm hoping this like kind of like opens up more avenues for you for like video creation. This is like a few clicks, we can get some abstraction going. Given like why would you use this? We're just exploring these ideas, and then at the very end, when you start to like put all of these video ideas together, I'm hoping all of y'all get like pretty unique outcomes. But we got to do some like basic stuff first. Um, I want to look at this with because since it's like a strong contrast from the black and white to these like complementary colors at the top, let's look at that. Um, we got this right here. We're not going to talk about this yet. We could time the color as well, like a kind of an opacity from one end to the other. Eventually, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it in the next couple weeks. And let's put on. Let's do 50%. Let's do actually 75. Is that even going to make a difference? All right, there we go. Now we kind of have like a weird spotlight kind of effect happening. And let's invert. Let's see that. There we go. But eventually, I want to have y'all kind of like use some complementary colors on your footage. But for this week, what I expect from all of y'all, you're going to work on these portraits, and then you're going to threshold your footage and have it black and white, just so you can like see if we run into any problems. But in theory, we should be able to mask um, all of this to from one from one area to another, and we're using a face. So I would play around with some of this as well. If you want to get into color, it's just as simple as putting a tint on there. So maybe explore a little bit, see what you want pixelated, what you want threshold. Um, maybe maybe we can explore a little bit with these methods before we move on. And I'll put these in the notes as well. Any question on that? Has anyone like started to mess with footage yet? You probably, yeah. No one else? All right. Well, that's good. That's it for right now.